Hey there, Turo hosts and car sharing enthusiasts. In this video, I interview Bill Huffhine, a large fleet owner operator, StreetSmarts user, and founder of CarShare Academy.com. Bill is based in Detroit, Michigan, and has been hosting for years while becoming an educator and leader in the car sharing industry. In this interview, Bill walks me through his experience hosting, optimizing his Turo business, and scaling his fleet. Thank you so much, Bill, for sharing your wealth of knowledge, and be sure to check out StreetSmarts.io and CarShareAcademy.com to learn more about automating your Turo fleet. I hope you enjoy this interview as much as I did. Let's jump right in. Well, thank you so much, Bill, for joining us today. My name is Raphael. I'm the designer on the StreetSmarts team and have been with them for about 2.5 years. And we're really excited to release more features. And today, Bill is going to share his experience. So, Bill, if you could introduce yourself.
Bill Huffhine. I am in the Detroit metro area, and I've been a Turo host since January of 2018. Started with one car, of course, and scaled up to about 20 vehicles.
Wow.
And, have been scaling back a little bit, but yeah, it's been a great experience closing in on 1,900 completed trips so far here in the Detroit metro area.
Wow. That's amazing. Well, congratulations. That's a huge accomplishment.
Thank you.
Um, so, we're going to cover some questions about StreetSmarts. So, how long have you been using StreetSmarts?
Yeah, so let's see, I started my Turo business in January of 2018. I think it was probably about 6 months later that I began using StreetSmarts. By that time, I had started building a fleet and had multiple vehicles, and I was working a full-time job at the time. So I was looking for ways to automate as much of my business as I could. So I want to say the summer of 2018, maybe late summer is when I started.
Awesome. That's great. And what do you use it for?
So my two main functions that I use it mostly for is automated pricing and automated messages. Those are just the two main functions that I use. I do look at the metrics a little bit every month, but those were the two things that I really needed to find a way to automate and take off my plate back when I started using it, and they both have worked very well for me.
And that's awesome. And so, when you talk about those features specifically, what were you having to do before you were using StreetSmarts?
Yeah, so the messaging was kind of a pain. I tend to be an over communicator. So I talk a lot, I write a lot, and my guests get an entire 9 message sequence from the moment they request a trip until 1 hour after the trip ends. And so, having to just do that manually for every single trip, 9 messages for every single trip, copying and pasting and all this crap, and then forgetting to send one, and so that, the messaging really solved that problem for me. And the same with the pricing, being able to just set my variable pricing up by day, have my holiday pricing automated so I don't have to remember not to forget about it, and get my cars booked out at cheap rates on the weekend, on the holidays. Those were just very helpful to me. And one of the features that you guys added recently, I think it was this year actually, maybe last year, is the automated invoice escalation tool. And that's a great thing. I'll get a notice through my Turo app that a guest has not paid their invoice. And before I can even get clicked over to the other screen to escalate it, you guys have already handled it for me. So that's a great addition to the platform.
That's awesome. I'm so happy to hear that those features have been helpful for you. And do you have any idea of maybe what some of the time savings have been? Like if you were to compare before to after StreetSmarts?
Oh, I don't know that I could really pin down a number of hours a week that saves me. Yeah, I would just be making something up if I tried to share that with you. But it has greatly simplified my fleet management. My messages go out without me even thinking about it. The pricing happens without me having to think about it. So yeah, it's been a big help for me.
That's great. Okay, that's cool because we definitely want to make sure it improves the quality of your life and
Yeah.
hopefully save some time in the process. So has it changed anything else about how you host?
It helped me when I had to transition from when I first started my fleet. I did all of my handoffs in person. I met the guest every single time. And so there were fewer messages that I had to send to the guest because a lot of the messages that I send now are things that I would verbally cover with the guest at the vehicle, reminders about terms of service and things like that. So when I got up to, I think about 15 vehicles, I was still working my full-time job, and I really needed to automate and then switch to remote handoffs instead of in-person handoffs because my bosses learned about my Turo business and they weren't real happy about me with my with my renters when I was supposed to be doing my job. So I had to go 100% remote. And so those features, especially the messaging, really helped me make that business transition and the way I operate. And I've been remote ever since.
That's awesome. That's so cool that you are able to like sustain that with a full-time job. That seems like a lot of work. So a lot of respect.
A lot of early mornings and late evenings because that's when I would do all my Turo stuff. I'd get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, go down to my lot, get all of my cars prepped for the day, and on my lunch hour, I might have to run to the car wash or something. And then after work, I would usually spend a couple hours down at my lot, checking vehicles back in or doing as much prep for tomorrow as I could. So yeah, man, it was a lot of work,
Gosh.
a lot of long hours.
Well, it's cool that you were able to like work through those early days. It sounds like you've been able to develop a really tight ship and process now.
Yep.
That's cool. So do you have any goals for this particular year?
So I'm really in a transition year right now. When I got into Turo, I just kind of got into it just on a whim to cover the payment and insurance on a vehicle. I had no plan on developing a business out of it, but the business came and enabled me to retire from that day job back in 2019 and do Turo full time. But that gave me the freedom to also build some other businesses that are things that I'm pretty passionate about. So right now I'm in the process of building those other businesses up, and I'm kind of scaling down a little bit on my Turo fleet. I'm spending a lot more time coaching and teaching others how to build their Turo businesses now as I kind of scale down my fleet. So, I'll probably be down to maybe 4 or 5 vehicles by the end of the year, and then we'll see what 2022 brings.
All right, that's awesome. Well, it's cool that you can now pivot to things that maybe are more enjoyable, less 5 a.m. mornings.
Yeah, right. And yeah, yeah. So my goal all along has been to try to be as much as location independent as I can possibly be. So, if I can get my Turo fleet to a size where I can just kind of hand it off to somebody else to manage so that I can go live and work, wherever I want and not have to be on point dealing with the cars, that'll be ideal.
That sounds like a really awesome life and goal. I hope it happens.
Thank you.
Um, so next question. Do you have any words of wisdom for new hosts?
Oh yeah, well, lots of more than we can cover in this interview, but I think the first thing I would say to new hosts is before you really get into this business, make sure you spend the time necessary to study the business, to study your market, understand your market, because every city is different when it comes to Turo and which vehicles are in demand, which vehicles are not in demand. And I see a lot of hosts who just kind of jump onto the platform. They run out and they get a car because, well, for instance, they run out and get a Toyota Camry because they see 27 Toyota Camrys already on the platform and they market in their market. And they think, well, I guess I have to go get a Toyota Camry. And it ends up sitting in their parking lot more than it's out on a trip because there's too many Toyota Camrys in the market. So knowing how to really understand your market and figure out which vehicles are going to get the fastest and most frequent bookings and get me to all-star status as quickly as possible, I think it's absolutely has to be the starting point. And then, learning from others. Whenever I was exploring Turo before I even listed my first vehicle, I spent an entire month doing two things. Learning from other Turo hosts. I watched every YouTube video out there. I got on in Facebook groups. I asked just tons of questions. So studying the business, but also studying my market. Those two are, I think, the two most important things before you should even put a vehicle on the platform. And as you're getting ready to list that vehicle, spending time reading the Turo terms of service. Please, I implore you, new hosts, do not build your listing by copying what you see in other Turo listings on the platform, because there are a lot of hosts out there who are doing dumb things publicly on their listings that are violations of Turo policy. I see this happen so many times where a host will they'll just copy what they see another host doing, or maybe they know another host who tells them what they should put in their listing and it's all wrong. So the more time you can spend actually going to support.turo.com and just reading through the terms of service. There's a complete guide in there on how to start your Turo business and be in compliance with the Turo terms of service. My goodness, spend a week reading that. Read it 7 times, memorize it 5 times, recite it to your pet 3 times. Know that thing inside and out before you really jump into this game. So I think those are the three things, man. Study your market, study the business, study the terms of service, and then go out and get the right car for your city.
Gosh, thank you, Bill. That's incredible. That we need to like create a handbook for you because that seems invaluable. Thanks for sharing that advice. Um, do you have any insights if you were to quickly maybe try to predict where the market's going? I know we're kind of in this weird place, but I'm sure a lot
Yeah.
of people would be interested to know what you think.
So here are my thoughts. We're certainly in a bubble right now. We're riding a wave of demand and rates that we've never seen before on Turo. Most of us are renting our vehicles out at rates that we never thought we'd be able to get for them. Most of us through the summer were completely booked out every day. We, in the past 6 to 9 months, have gotten a lot of market share away from the rental car companies who were just out of vehicles, and or if they had vehicles, they were charging $300, $400, $500 a day for those vehicles. So this has been an amazing time for Turo to capture that market share and host people who would have never chosen Turo before. So there are hundreds of hosts coming onto the platform, I think, every week. I mean, we're just in this explosive growth mode in terms of hosts and vehicles coming into the market. I'll give you an example. I did some market research on Charlotte, North Carolina at the beginning of the summer. And I think they had right around 400, 450 vehicles in that market. And I went back and revisited it not even 8 weeks later, and it's grown by over 200 vehicles just in Charlotte, have hit the platform. And this is happening in cities around the country. So all of that to say, we're in this huge wave, this huge bubble, but like all good bubbles do, this bubble is going to burst. And this wave is going to crash into the shore and things are going to normalize. Now, there's going to be a point where the car manufacturers are able to begin manufacturing again. The chip shortage will ease. Rental car companies will be able to scale back up their fleets. Hertz, I just read today, is coming out of bankruptcy, so they're kind of rebuilding their business. So things are going to normalize. It may be 6 months, it may be a year, but our demand is probably going to normalize a bit. And when I say normalize, I mean come down a little bit. Our prices the daily rates that we can charge are going to normalize and come back down. Instead of getting $110 a day for that Honda Accord, you may be back to getting 60 or $70 a day for it in most markets. So that is going to be combined with this large influx of hosts and vehicles. So we're going to be in for a rocky transition period when things begin to normalize. But my hope is that over the last 6 or 9 months, we have captured so much market share away from the traditional rental car companies that the people who tried Turo for the first time this past summer because they had to and there was no other rental cars available, hopefully, if the hosts did their jobs and created 5-star experiences, those people will never go back to enterprise again. They'll always just pull out their phone and book a Turo car. So I'm hoping that Though our inventory has grown, I'm hoping that our market share has grown as well. So that's all kind of coming. I think that a lot of the hosts who've come on board in the last few months, there's going to be a percentage of those that are going to attrition out. They'll realize that, oh, this wasn't for me. I didn't like this. Or so I think the next 6 to 9 months are going to be volatile, but I think Turo is going to be just fine. And the hosts who are taking this seriously, who are 5-star hosts, who are all-star hosts running this as a business, you're going to be just fine.
Awesome. That is a really great assessment. Thanks, Bill. And I guess at StreetSmarts, we're excited for this growth. So that's
Yeah.
really great. You and I both. So I'm excited to hear about CarShare Academy. And so why don't you tell everybody, yeah, what is CarShare Academy?
Yeah. So thanks for asking. All throughout my career, the last 30 years, in all of the places where I've worked, I've always been the guy who enjoys teaching other people, helping other people. I was always the guy kind of, called and asked to speak at conferences and lead workshops and coach others and build training materials and things like this. So, I spent 24 years in the media industry as a business development executive before I retired to do this. So, business development is kind of what I do, and it's what I've always done. So, I didn't really intend to do that with Turo. I was just kind of focused on building my own business and doing my thing. But about 3 months ago, as we were seeing all of these hundreds of new hosts coming into the platform, flooding the Facebook groups and asking questions that they should be asking and getting advice that they shouldn't have been getting, I thought, I want to help these folks. There were some great hosts, 3.5 years ago when I was getting started who really helped me. They took the time to answer my questions that were elementary to them, but they were critical to my success. So I thought, I want to spend a little bit of time helping these new hosts because some of them are going to financially bankrupt themselves if they're not careful. Some of them are they're going to get kicked off the platform if they're following some of this advice. So it all started with just, throwing out there saying, "Hey guys, I'll hop on Zoom for an hour every Wednesday and just do a Q&A with anybody who needs some help if you're a new host or an aspiring host." And before I knew it, my Zoom rooms were just filling up every week with people who were signing up to come in and kind of get some guidance. Well, that just kind of snowballed, leading to different things that I was able to help people with. And I think some of the most important work that we do. I now have a team. I had to hire some people to actually come and help me run the CarShare Academy. But I think some of the most important work that we do is market analysis. Like I said, when you were asking me about my words to wisdom, one of the most important things is understanding your market, what's going to work there. So we started with one city and said, hey, I'm going to follow the same approach that I followed during that month before I launched my fleet, but I'm going to study this city and see if I can help hosts out over here. And that turned into, I think we're up to 70 cities now that we've done market research on. We provide a 17 or 18 page market analysis PDF to these new hosts that it shows them the entire Turo inventory. It breaks it down by make and model. It shows them which models are performing the best in terms of inventory and utilization, at what rates and earnings potential. And then it concludes with a list of 7 to 10 specific models that a host in the city can go out and buy today and get immediate bookings and be successful with. So we produce market research for 5 to 10 new cities every single week, and we add them to our libraries, and people are finding that very valuable. So we've evolved to where we're doing one-on-one coaching, we're doing group coaching, we're doing the market analysis, and we're just getting ready on September 8th of 2021, in case you're watching this at a later time, to begin what we're calling the new host launch sequence. And it's a 16-week program to help an aspiring host begin in the right market with the right vehicles and the right business practices to be successful right off the launch pad and achieve all-star status at the next evaluation period after the sequence ends. So pretty excited about that. Our sessions are starting to fill up. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the short story of how we got started and what we're doing. And we have a lot of things planned for the future.
That's awesome. I'm really excited for that. The next phase of your service sounds super helpful. Maybe can you share like one success story from somebody who's been a part of CarShare Academy?
Yeah, well, there's several people who have went through our summer coaching calls, got our market analysis, got their vehicles, and they are already reaching the metrics necessary for all-star status at the next evaluation period. So that's a huge success in my book because that all-star status, a lot of people downplay that, but what we're finding is we study from market to market is there are a lot of markets where that really matters. Um, All-star vehicles get booked out in some places double digit, percentages more than non-all-star vehicles. So we have several of the people who've gone through our coaching that are already at that level. As soon as the October 15th assessment is done, they're going to be there. They're going to be all stars. There are people who've gone through the program who, put vehicles on there and they got booked out within minutes, some of them, and they've seen those vehicles booked out steadily all through the summer. So too many to mention, but there's a lot of success stories out there.
Awesome. That's so great. Well, Bill, those are the questions that I had. Thank you so much for your time and obviously sharing your StreetSmarts experience and obviously the timeline of how you become a host and that's grown and now that's evolved into your other businesses. So do you have any parting words before we close for the day?
Yeah, no, just first of all, thank you guys for what you do. You certainly helped improve my hosting experience and gave me some very important tools to use that have made my life easier. One of the things we're doing as part at the CarShare Academy is we're helping people get signed up on StreetSmarts because we believe in it. So when you go through any of our coaching programs, you're going to get a free trial of StreetSmarts so that you can learn the system and apply it to your fleet. But the CarShare Academy, you can find us at carshareacademy.com, and we'll be happy to help you out there. And we're going to be cheering on StreetSmarts all the way.
Awesome. Thanks, Bill. And we'll be sure to share some links in the comments here. But thanks, everybody, and good luck in 2021. And we will see you later. Thank you so much for your time.
All right. Thanks, Raphael.
Thank you. Bye-bye.